would have predicted this? A late season top 10 showdown down in Lubbock between number 7 BYU and number 8 Texas Tech. A game with massive Big 12 title implications. A game with massive college football playoff implications. Guys, Saturday is going to be a movie. All right, this is why we love college football, for matchups like this. And Saturday in Lubbock is going to be a movie. It's going to be an epic game. It is going to be an epic environment and atmosphere. This is why we play the game. This is why we love college football. So, will BYU remain undefeated? They're 8-0, 5-0 in conference play. Or will it be Texas Tech that hands them their first loss and gets closer and closer to making that Big 12 championship appearance? That's what we're here to break down today. We'll go ahead and jump on into it. I don't want to even delay it any further. I don't want to go through the pleasantries. I want to get into this game. And we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to start with BYU, where I have been extremely impressed with really just the entire offensive unit. I think it's give major props to Kalani Sitake, what he's done with this program. And not just over the years, but especially this year, right? You know, a couple of weeks before the season starts, you had that whole drama with Jake Retzlaff, right? And we're like, yeah, we're not really sure how BYU is going to look. The schedule may be a little bit tougher than what we saw last year. The Cougars might have a decent year, but I don't think anybody, I don't even know if BYU fans out there, might be lying to yourself if you say you are, thought they would be number 7 in the country, 8-0 by November 8th. I don't think many people had that, right? This is a team that offensively is 33rd in the nation in total offense, averaging over 450 yards per game. And they're doing so not just with Bear Bachmeier, who's been phenomenal stepping in at quarterback, over 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, 400 rushing yards, and 9 touchdowns. But it's their running game as a whole that's been the strength for BYU's offense and what's made them so dangerous, right? They're 15th in the nation, averaging over 216 rushing yards per game. Bachmeier being a mobile quarterback, defenses have to respect that. He's not just a pocket passer. He's not your average guy that kind of got thrust into the spotlight, right? I think he's kind of exceeded expectations. LJ Martin, no guy a little bit banged up, is expected to play against Texas Tech, has rushed for nearly 800 yards and 5 touchdowns on the year. He's rushed for at least 100 yards in 5 of the 8 games that he has played in this year. This Cougars offense, guys, has actually scored at least 24 points in every game they've played. They have not been held to under 24 points in a single game this year. Their offensive line is phenomenal, not just opening lanes for their running backs and protection for Bear Bachmeier. 9 sacks is it. That's all they've given up. They're coming off a bye week coming into this game, so they're well-rested, well-prepared. But this is by far the toughest team, offensively, defensively, atmosphere-wise, that BYU has faced. No doubt about it. Texas Tech is the toughest team that BYU has faced all year. How will they handle that? Will they rise to the occasion? How will they handle just how complex Texas Tech is on both sides of the ball? Take a look at the Red Raiders. 5th in the nation in total offense, averaging over 492 yards per game. That's what we'd expected. You know, Texas Tech comes into this year spending the most of any team in the transfer portal. They finally got that big-time money, over $10 million spent in the portal alone, and it's paid off for them. It's paid off for them. And a win over BYU, and nothing's a lock, nothing's ever a guarantee, but a win over BYU, despite the loss to Arizona State, almost puts them as a lock in the college football playoff. Again, don't want to take anything for granted, but things will be looking really, really good for the Red Raiders if they can win on Saturday. They're averaging nearly 300 passing yards per game, averaging nearly 200 rushing yards per game. Barron Morton's been phenomenal, over 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns, only 4 picks. If he were to go down against BYU, he has struggled with injuries throughout his career. We've seen him go down early in games before. Will Hammond has proven to be more than capable as a backup. Some out there say he's even better than Morton. I don't know if I'd go that far. It kind of depends on the day. A little bit inconsistent at times, but he has won plenty of games with Texas Tech. He has delivered when Morton has gone down. Hammond can be the guy if something were to happen on Saturday. But they got 4 players for Texas Tech that have rushed for at least 200 yards, led by Cameron Dickey, nearly has 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. The duo at wide receiver of Caleb Douglas and Coy Eakin has been absolutely phenomenal. This Red Raiders offense is not just high scoring, it's not just fairly balanced, they're fast, they're explosive, they hit on those big plays, and that's going to be such a difficult thing for BYU's defense to stop. This is an offense that's has scored over 34 points in every single game except for their loss against Arizona State. They lost 26-22. They've only given up 13 sacks on the year. This team does it all and really doesn't have that many weaknesses. And that's the truth. And that's why the defensive side of the ball for both of these teams, but mainly BYU, is what I'm watching for the most. Because BYU has played good defense, right? they've played pretty solid defense all year long, but Texas Tech's offense is the best they've seen. The closest offense that BYU has seen to Texas Tech was probably Utah a few weeks ago, and the Cougars didn't do well in that game. Yes, they won. That's all that matters, but they gave up 471 yards to the Utes, including 227 on the ground. And if Utah had taken the points, many times they got in the red zone. If Utah doesn't go 1 for 5 on fourth down conversions, they probably win that game. And that's no shot at BYU, but they were outgained in that game by about 103 yards, 471 allowed, over 200 on the ground. On the year, they're only giving up 318 yards per game. Utah was an anomaly, but Texas Tech, who destroyed Utah in Salt Lake City back in September, I would argue has a better offense than that of the Utes. So how does BYU handle that? How do they handle the size and the speed and the tempo of Texas Tech? The Cougars don't have a phenomenal pass rush. They only have 17 sacks on the year. They have forced 16 turnovers, 12 of those being interceptions. So you've got to hope that their secondary maybe finds a way to force a mistake or two off of Morton, force a fumble or two, finds a way to create pressure, which is something they haven't done a great job of in their 8 games they played, averaging just a little over 2 sacks per game, which isn't terrible by any means, but still needs to pick it up a little bit. By the end of the day, what this comes down to for BYU is slowing down the Red Raiders offense. I don't expect this defense to walk in here, especially on the road, early morning road game, mind you, and completely shut down Texas Tech. I don't expect that to happen. But if they can come in here, limit the explosive plays, generate a little bit of pressure to make Morton uncomfortable, maybe lay a hit on him or two, that's enough to maybe keep them in this game for a full 60 minutes. Texas Tech, meanwhile, we talk so much about their offense and how good they are and how good they've been in years past. One of their Achilles' heels in years past has been their defense. That's not the case this year. That was a major point of emphasis in the portal, major point of emphasis in the spending, and it's paid off for them. They are just ridiculous on defense. That's the best word I can use for it. 28 sacks on the year. They have forced 20 turnovers, a perfect 10 interceptions and 10 fumbles. They're 10th in the nation in total defense, giving up just 270.9 yards per game. They're first in the nation in stopping the run, giving up just 77.6 rushing yards per game. So what does that mean? That means Bear Bachmeier for BYU has to win this game through the air. I don't expect LJ Martin, who again was a little bit banged up, to come in here and just torch this Red Raiders defense. I don't expect Bear Bachmeier to come in here and destroy them with his legs, right? So this is really a BYU offense that, again, nothing happens till the game's played, but right now, especially on paper, appears to be one-dimensional because of how good Texas Tech has been at shutting down the run. And I don't expect that to change now. The most rushing yards Texas Tech has allowed all year in a single game was 124, and that was last week against Kansas State, who's a solid rushing team, has a solid mobile quarterback in Avery Johnson. If anything, it actually benefited Texas Tech to have played Kansas State last week because they got to see a mobile quarterback. They also played Devin Dampier back in September, but more recently, saw a mobile quarterback, saw a team that wants to run the ball, and they did very well at stopping it. So now, this secondary is tasked with pretty much shutting down Bear Bachmeier because they have faith in their front seven to completely shut down the run. Texas Tech, again, the number one rushing defense in the entire country, is going to meet BYU one-dimensional. Is that offense up for the task? This game, it really is intriguing to me. I mean, really is awesome. The fact that one of these programs is more than likely going to be in the Big 12 championship, barring some crazy finish over the final 3 weeks of the regular season, it is really a testament to not just this age of college football we're in with the portal and the NIL and things like that, but also the coaching jobs that Kalani Sitake and Joey McGuire have both done. But at the end of the day, I look at this game, and I got a lot of guys out there that say I'm a BYU hater. I've picked against BYU a lot. I'm not a BYU hater by any means, but I have picked against them quite a bit. I'm going to pick against them now. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. If you're a BYU fan, maybe you're thrilled that I'm picking against you, because a lot of times they do prove me wrong. But here's the thing. For BYU to come into Lubbock and win this game, they're going to have to start hot. They're going to have to start fast. That's something they have not done over the last month or so of the regular season, right? You go look at their last couple games. I know the Cougars coming off a bye week, things like that, but they trailed 17-7 at the end of the first quarter against Iowa State. They were tied at 27 entering the fourth quarter, or in the fourth quarter, before Iowa State muffed that punt and kind of things got ahead of them. BYU won 41-27, but that was a tie game in the fourth. They were outgained by 103 yards, as we mentioned, against Utah. Allowed nearly 500 yards of offense, over 225 on the ground. The Utes went 1 for 5 on fourth down. Probably a game BYU should have lost. Their defense did their job. They got the fourth down stops. They forced some turnovers. but allowed a lot of yards, and some questionable decisions by Kyle Whittingham maybe cost the Utes that game. The week before that, they played Arizona. They trailed by 10. With less than 5 minutes remaining, had a miraculous comeback, forced overtime, and won the game 33-27 in double overtime. They sent the game to overtime with a touchdown with 19 seconds remaining. Their last 3 games, BYU's last 3 games, have all been extremely, extremely close. Extremely close. Where if the ball just bounces the different way, they maybe lose all 3 of those games. And we're not talking about this as a top 10 matchup. We're talking about Texas Tech running away with it. For what it's worth, I think Texas Tech does run away with it. I would be surprised if this game came down to the final minutes of the fourth quarter. Texas Tech, to me, by and large, is the better team on offense. They are the better team on defense. They are the more battle-tested team. They are the more complete team. They are the faster team. And they have home field advantage on top of all of that. This feels like a game where Texas Tech wins by at least 10 points. This feels like a game, as a good friend told me, or a good friend Connor Hibbett, he said, this reminds me a lot of last week. Cincinnati, previously undefeated in the Big 12, travels to Utah. Utah, surprisingly for some, was about a 9-10 point favorite, and the Utes destroyed Cincinnati. I'm not saying it's going to be a 45-17 type of game, but I think the Red Raiders make a big statement at home on Saturday morning with the eyes of the nation upon them. Texas Tech wins this game. They hand BYU their first loss of the season, but the dream not dead for the Cougars. Will only be their first loss, both regular season and in conference play. First loss, everything's still right in front of them, but Texas Tech will now own the tiebreaker over the Cougars, getting them one step closer, not just to a Big 12 title, but to the college football playoff. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Go check them out. The link, again, down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.